book nerds, this is Gabby, and today let's talk about some amazing books. So if you don't know, it's Black History Month in America, and I thought it'd be a fun occasion to do a video about all my favorite books by Black authors, because I've read some really amazing ones and I think it's important that everyone gives them a chance. I just wanted to mention that it's really important that we don't just, tokenize this month to read books by Black authors and then never pick them up again throughout the year. And it's also really important to read diversely, not just Black authors, but any authors of color, any neurodivergent authors, the authors from LGBTQ spectrum, all year round. It's really important to support them in our reading every month and throughout the year and in our videos and hype them up, not just when it's a special month. So I think that's something I just wanted to say, and also it's really important to support Black booktubers and watch their videos and see what they're recommending, because by watching more people you can get a grasp on the most diverse range of books, because obviously not one person reads all the genres and all the types of books. So if you watch a couple of different people, I'm sure you can get a very wide spectrum. I'm gonna link some of my favorite videos recommending books by Black authors from Black booktubers, so you can check them out, and please do show them your support. I've read so many amazing books, especially recently, because I feel like there's been so many more releases in genres that I enjoy. But we have a couple of different genres today. I mainly read fantasy. If you're new to the channel, I mainly read fantasy. So I have a couple of fantasy, I have one sci-fi, and I was like, oh, I just have one. But I don't really read sci-fi anyway, but this sci-fi I absolutely loved. I have some contemporaries and some non-fiction. So let's just get started. We've got 10 books to talk about, so let's get to it. So the first book I wanted to recommend was Daughters of Enri by Rani K. Amayo. So in this book we follow two sisters who are twins. They were separated at birth because in this kingdom the belief is that twins will bring about the end of the world, but actually what the twins are and why they're being feared is that they have pieces of God in them. So gods used to rule the world, but somehow they were like exiled, and now the gods can only enter through twins. So that's why twins are being killed. These two girls were saved but separated. So it's a story about them trying to come back to each other without even knowing that they have a twin. First book is mostly about their separate stories. Each of them has their own distinct storyline, and that's something I really liked actually. I thought that the author did an amazing job in making the voices of the two main characters super distinct. Each of them had a very distinct character, and I really understood their perspective, and their stories were equally interesting, which I think is sometimes really hard to do when you have dual perspectives that don't interact. And I thought the writing was beautiful. I really enjoyed the story. The sequel's coming out next month, I think, so it's a perfect time to pick up the first book. Did not get enough hype and it has the most amazing cover. I was so excited reading it, and then the sequel news were a bit shaky and I was like, but the sequel is coming, and it is coming in March. So like I said, pick it up. It's a wonderful, beautiful fantasy story. It's set in a fantasy world, but it's kind of supposed to be a standard for Nigeria, I believe, because I think that's where the author is from. I really enjoyed this book and I would highly recommend it. I think it's a wonderful fantasy with just beautiful writing. Next one we have a recent but very beloved favorite, which is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. So this book is kind of an Arthurian retelling. So it borrows a little bit from the myths, but it's not a direct retelling. So even if you're not a big Arthurian fan, I would still say you can totally give it a go because you don't need that much prior knowledge. But if you are a fan of Arthurian myths, then I think you can get something from it, because I am, and I had a very fun time trying to connect the dots. So in this book we follow Bree, whose mother unfortunately recently passed away. This has had a very big toll on Bree, and she carries a lot of grief with her. Her and her best friend start this kind of pre-college program at a university in South of America, of North America, somewhere in the South. I can't remember exact city, but in this university Bree gets entangled with this Arthurian society, and it's just such a wonderful urban fantasy. I loved it so much. I just think it had this nostalgic feeling of urban fantasy while also bringing something completely new to the table. The way that the author managed to weave in the Arthurian stuff with topics like grief and generational trauma and racism and slavery. Wonderful, just so wonderfully done. It was really touching. I think the exploration of grief, especially, the author said herself that her parent passed away and it was really hard on her, and this book was kind of a way for her to work through it, and I think that was absolutely wonderfully done. Even without having experienced the same kind of grief, I could really empathize with the main character, who is an awesome character anyway, even without that to consider. She's just so strong-willed, so passionate. She just has this grit that I thought was absolutely amazing. But I would highly recommend this one. It's so wonderful, especially if you're a fan of urban fantasy. Impeccable. I did talk about it very in depth in my vlog that I read it in, so if you want to check it out, you can. Just trust me, it's so good. Next up, we have another high fantasy, so I didn't really slot these right, did I? But it's A Song of Wraiths and Ruin by Roseanne A. Brown. So in this book, we follow kind of an orphan child, I guess, and he's not a child, he's like 16 or whatever. We follow an orphan boy who is traveling with his family because he's a refugee, so he's traveling with his sisters to a different city, hopefully and find an asylum. And while there, he kind of gets entangled in this scheme with this supernatural creature, and he gets tasked with killing the princess of this kingdom that he's in. And because of that, he enters there's this tournament of like becoming the main magician or something. I don't remember exactly, but he enters this tournament, and on the other hand, we have the princess who, because of circumstances in her life, she has to find a king to kill, and she thinks, okay, when someone wins that competition, I'm gonna make them my husband and then murder them. So, you know, it's two people trying to kill each other without really any kind of personal vendetta. And I found it super, super, super entertaining. I think the book was really well written. Again, I really like the two perspectives. I think both of them were quite interesting. There's a hint of romance. It's not super like front and stage, but it is an important part. So if you like romance, there you go. I really liked the world. I thought it was all really well thought out, and I'm really excited for the sequel. I would highly recommend this one if you like high fantasy, and I really enjoy that, trying to kill each other, you know, but like kind of falling for each other and like fake marriage plot a little bit. So, you know, it's all there and it's all great. Next up, we have our one and only sci-fi novel, which is Binti by Nnedi Okorafor. This is kind of like a short novella, short story. It's only about 100 pages, but it's a series actually of 3 books. I only read the first one, but I really loved it. So in this book, we follow our main character who's from this desert tribe, and no one in this tribe has ever traveled to this university, which is located on a different planet. But our main character gets a scholarship and a chance to go study at this university. And I don't want to tell you any more than that because the book is so short, but it punches such a punch. It punches a punch? But it really gets to you and really talks about such important, interesting topics in such a short period of time. But I just really, really loved it, and I thought it was so well done. I don't normally read sci-fi that much, but this one just grabbed me, and I need to reread the first one and read the second and third one because I loved the first one. I think the writing was amazing. I know the author just came out with another book called Remote Control, so I haven't read that one, but if you want to check it out, I think the author's just a really good writer anyway, so I'm sure her new book is just as amazing. But I think the themes in this one, yeah, the themes, it was mostly about the themes, but the themes were wonderful, so I would really check it out if you like sci-fi. Next up, we have a book that's actually a bit hard to categorize. I don't know if you consider it like sci-fi utopia or fantasy or what, but it's Pet by Akwaeke Emezi. So this book, we follow a little trans girl who lives in this world that's kind of like a utopia. They eradicated all kinds of like monsters and unfortunes, and they're convinced that there's no one like bad living among them anymore. And the main character, one night, a monster comes out of her mother's painting and says that there is a real monster because this creature only looks like a monster, but his name is Pet, and he's actually come here to eradicate the real monster who's abusing one of the friends of the main character. Be careful of pedophilia and abuse of a minor. But this book is really interesting because it kind of tethers on that middle grade / young adult line, and it just talks about such important, hard topics in a really poetic way. And I really like the discussion of who's really a monster of complacency, being so secure in what you think you know that you don't even pay attention, of not listening. I just thought it was a wonderful book. I really enjoyed it. I think the author has some new books coming out as well. Next up, we have contemporary section. So the first book, I've talked about it in a couple of recent videos, but it's Grown by Tiffany D. Jackson. So this book is kind of a look at the entertainment industry. It was loosely inspired by the R. Kelly scandal. So we follow our main character, who's a teenage black girl, and she wants to become a musician. So during one of the auditions, she meets Corey Fields, who's a very famous musician, and he basically tells her that he wants to take her under his wing and help her in her music career. What actually transpires is a lot of abuse and a lot of exploitation. Again, please trigger warning for sexual assault and just abuse of a minor and pedophilia. Oh, this book. It was wonderfully written. I love the audiobook. If you have a chance, pick it up. Maybe as an audio if you can handle it. It was a bit more visceral that way, but the audiobook narrator has this wonderful, really young voice that really shows you how young and impressionable the main character is, because she's only 17 years old and she comes from a really loving family, but a family that struggles with money. It just shows you all these factors that come into abuse happening and allowing it, but also how easy it is for some people to discard it. There's an element of kind of like thriller to it, because the first chapter opens with the main character finding the dead body of the musician, and we don't really know what happened there. But it was wonderfully written, very poignant, very, very heartbreaking, and I think talked about really important things. And I really want to check out Monday's Not Coming now, because this is another book by the author, and I've heard just amazing things. So I'm super excited for that one, but I think everyone should read Grown as well. Next up, we have a bit of a shift in the mood. So we got Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hilbert. So this is actually a romantic contemporary romance rather than hard-hitting contemporary. But in this we follow Chloe Brown, who has a chronic pain and has to live her life with this disability. Because of that, she has become a little bit distrustful, a little bit cautious with her heart and her affection. And that's why when she meets the beautiful, handsome stranger who's her, like not a landlord, but a person who takes care of your building, she's very jaded. I just really loved how it talked about healing, growing together, apart, how you need to heal. I thought that was just really well done, and I really enjoyed the relationship. I think it was one of the healthier ones I've seen in a romance book, although there was some drama towards the end, but all of it made sense. I actually have a reading vlog for that one as well if you wanted to get my fuller thoughts as I'm going. But suffice to say, I loved it, and if you need something a bit lighter, something happier, but still really discussing very important topics, I think this was the one for you. Next up, we have some non-fiction. The first book I wanted to mention was How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi. How to Be an Anti-Racist is a non-fiction novel talking about the concept of anti-racism as opposed to just not being racist. How to be anti-racist, so actively reject any kind of racist ideology and racist behavior, subconscious thoughts, anything like that. How to actively fight against racism rather than in complacency let it fester and let it go rampant, basically. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very, very informative, and you could really tell that the author knows what he's talking about. It was very informative, very eye-opening, and really showed me how to be better, how to act better. I didn't finish it yet, but I've started reading The Stamped by the same author, and that book is more of a history of the abuse and violence, racism, everything that Black people have experienced from the times of slavery. So it's more of a historical account, but still incredibly interesting, and I think that one would be a really good read as well. And the reason I even found this author was that I watched YouTube videos by For Harriet. So this is not a booktube channel, but she is a Black booktuber talking about really important social justice issues, and she had an interview with the author, and I just really loved hearing the author speak. I thought he had so many interesting points, so many interesting perspectives, so I decided to pick up his books, which was really cool. And I know that his books are quite popular, but if you need any more encouragement to pick it up, I would say they're very valuable. Next up is one of my probably favorite books ever, and it's Becoming by Michelle Obama. You probably don't need me telling you who Michelle Obama is or what Becoming is about, but it is kind of a autobiographical account of Michelle Obama's experience before she met Barack Obama, when she met Barack Obama when she was in school, as well as later as a first lady. I just read this book at such an important time in my life when I felt really lost as to what I wanted to do, and I felt really shitty about that, and I felt really insecure about that. And I was in Thailand finding myself on my exchange year, and I just remember reading this book, and it made so much to me, because even someone like Michelle Obama, who I think is an amazing person, has felt lost in their life, has questioned what is she doing, why is she doing this, what does she know anything. And I thought that was just really wonderfully important to me at the time I read it. But I think anyone can get a lot of this book. She has amazing style of writing and really honest way of speaking, so I really enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend it, especially the audiobook, because like, don't you want to listen to Michelle Obama talk to you for hours on end? And the last book on the list is Born a Crime by Trevor Noah. So this is another non-fiction book about the author. So if you don't know Trevor Noah, he's the host of the Daily Show, I want to say, and he's a comedian. And what's really interesting about this book is the story of his life, but he was actually born during the apartheid in South Africa, when it was illegal for Black and white people to have children together, and his father was a white Dutch man and his mother was South African. He was a child who was born a crime, and he was actually hid by his mother and grandparents so that authorities wouldn't find out about him. I've never read anything else about apartheid, especially from people from someone from first-hand experience, and I think that was really valuable to realize how recently it happened, because Trevor Noah is not an old person. He's what, like 30? That's what, like 10 years older than me, maybe 15, and it was still happening. It's easy to put things like apartheid, which we learned about in school, right? It's easy to put that all like, oh, that was so long ago though. We're not like that anymore. It was so long ago. And then you think about it, no, it was not that long ago. People who lived there still live there, and they're not even old, you know? I don't know, that was really like eye-opening, and I'd never really learned that much about it in school, because in Polish and our education system doesn't really stray away from our borders. And I listened to the audiobook, and his performance just out of the roof. If you know Trevor Noah, you know he has the most amazing accents. I loved his performance on the audiobook. It was absolutely gold. And also, even if you're not a fan of Trevor Noah, you can definitely get something out of it. So I would highly recommend it to everyone, fan or not fan. Still, I think it's a valuable read. Alright, that's all 10 books I wanted to talk to you about. There's definitely more that I am reading, I love. This is just a small percentage, but I really recommend that you check some of these out if you still haven't. Again, please remember to read books by POC authors all through the year. It's not just one month thing, okay? And follow people who can recommend you books like this, like booktubers of color, so that you get a diverse perspective. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I just love talking about books that I love. Please let me know your favorite book by a Black author. But otherwise, that's it from me. I really hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!